So, in this episode, we are going to learn everything from creating a project to getting your Panda to move. So, let's get started. I'm going to assume that you have never even touched Godot. You just installed it for the first time and you want to create a game in it. Here we are on the first screen that you'd see. Maybe you would see this as empty because you wouldn't have any projects yet. So let's create one. You can see there is a create button here. You have to click it and you can give a project name here. For the project name, I would give Panda Coin Collector as the name. And here you can see I can select the project's path. I'd change it and give a different path. Okay, so I have chose a different path. Then you can see there is a renderer selection. For renderer selection, we have three options: a forward plus, mobile, and compatibility. But as a beginner, you don't need to worry about it. You can just select compatibility and move ahead. So click create and we have our project open. So before starting anything on the screen, what I like to do is I like to make a hierarchy. I like to create an assets folder. Here all the assets that we use are gonna go, and I like to create an src folder. It's a source folder where all your scenes and scripts would go, inside which we would separate it by scene and script. So we have our folder structure ready. Now I need to create a new scene. So we would create a main scene which is a 2D scene with a node 2D. If you want to know what it does, we already have a separate playlist that covers each and every node. If you want to know about any node in detail, you can just go and visit the playlist. So when you create a new scene, you see an empty window. Nothing is rendered yet, no visuals, just a plain empty window. You can save it and I'd save it inside scenes. I would name it something like main, since it's our main scene. And you can see, if even if I run it, I can run it using this button and you can see an empty screen renders. Now I want a character here, so I would add a character body 2D node. You can see there is a character body 2D node here. I'd add it and we basically have a character here. So now we cannot see anything yet, as we need a sprite 2D to make something visible. So I'll add a child node, I'll add sprite 2D, and I have added an image inside my assets folder. I'll just drag and drop it here. So you can see my texture is ready, and since my image is big, I just make it a bit smaller. You can see this blue line, it's the screen which is actually going to be displayed in our game when the game is running. So if I bring it here and if I run it, you can see the panda is rendered in the center of the blue screen, just like you can see here also. Okay, so we have a sprite and we can see the character is being shown. I'll revert the position for now, and now I'll add a collision shape 2D, and you can see we need to add a shape here. So I'd give it a capsule shape, which is generally used for like player humanoid characters. Since you can see the human body is almost like a capsule, it won't bring any gameplay difference yet, but we're preparing it for future obstacles. You can notice this blue color box. This is basically our collision shape, and anything which comes in contact with this blue box is what we are gonna be treating like it's colliding with the player or the player is touching it. Now you can say that our player character is almost ready, but let's say I have a player character, I would have enemy characters, I would have many such nodes. So I don't want to keep this directly inside here. So I just rename it to something like player, and then I just right click it and create save branch as a scene. Rename it as player and save. So you can see that a player is created as a single node inside the node 2D, but we can see that the sprite and collisions are still displayed. This is because the scene is still complete. We have the entire scene. The player consists of a sprite and a collision shape, and we are basically instantiating it inside our node 2D. We'd also rename it as something like main for better understanding. So that's about the player. We have the player almost created. Now we need to add moment to the player. So to do that, I'd first need to define what our moments are. What keys are we gonna use? So we'd go to project settings, and there is an input map. So inside input map, you can see this add new action. So I would add a new action called, let's say, move left, and I'd click add. You can see an action called move left is created. So I'll click plus. It asks for an input. I'd press the left arrow key and OK. So basically, left arrow key is mapped to move left. I can also add more events if I want. I'd select A, which is commonly used, the WASD controls. Similarly, I'd add in the rest, move right, move up, and move down. These are all the controls we're gonna need for now. So let me quickly configure them. Right, D, up, and W, down, and S. Okay, so we basically have our input actions configured. Now it's time to add the moment code. To create a new script, I'd click on player and I would click this icon here to attach a new script. And you can see the path is wrong here, so I'd go click here and I'd go to scripts and open and create. So you can see I have a script ready here for character body 2D. So now let's write the code to move the character. So we're gonna need a speed variable. Let's set the value as 200 for now, and we would need a function physics process. The physics process is called once every tick, which depends on what your frames are configured. So for now you can basically understand that it runs once in a delta time. This is our main loop in which we are going to check if we are receiving any input or not. So I'd add a variable direction to get the direction based on our inputs. Input dot get vector. You can see here what parameters get vector requires. So it requires negative x. So negative x basically means going on the left side, which refers to as our left direction. So we would set move left here. Then you can see it wants positive x. So positive x basically refers to right. Then next we need negative y. So negative y, if you see the Godot, you can see that this is 0 and the negatives are above and the positives are below. So negative y basically points to upward direction. I'd go back to script and move up, and last one is positive y, which is move down. Make it a bit more readable like this. So we are basically getting direction in which the player would be moving based on the input vectors which we're getting. And then we can calculate velocity using direction multiplied by our speed. And then we can use a method called move and slide. This method is derived from our character body 2D. It's an inbuilt method and you don't have to worry much. What it basically does is that it takes this velocity, it takes this delta and calculates how much the character needs to move. So now if I play this scene, you can see the panda is present, and if I click the right arrow key, you can see it's moving to the right. If I click down, it's moving down. If I click left, it's moving left. If I click up, it's moving up. Great, we have a working moving panda. But it kinda seems a bit slow to me right now. So what I can do is I can just go here and increase the speed. And if I do that, I can see the panda is already faster. But let's assume it's a large project, and now let's have closed the script. I have this main node and I see this player node. I can't really control it from here, so each time I need to change it, I have to go into script and change it. So instead of that, I just go here and add at the rate export. So you can basically see it appeared in the inspector here. So if I do it something like 800 and run it again, you can see it's already moving faster. You can also move it diagonally in any diagonal because the vector is calculated basis our direction, and it also considers multiple inputs if given together. So in this episode, basically we created our project, scene, added moment. In next episode, we'll build the game world using tile map, trees, rocks, and collision obstacles. This is where our panda will finally have a world to explore. So, see you in the next one.